Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Browns rookie minicamp underway out in Berea. We also know the schedule and how it lines up. Plenty of Browns to talk about. We will also take a look at some video breakdown of the teams in the AFC North, what they have done in the offseason to improve themselves. Mention rookie minicamp underway. Cedric Tillman, Browns receiver, their first pick in the third round, talked about how he wants to get himself involved and be a part of this wide receiving room.
You know, this receiver core, was good, before I came here. I'm just going to try to look after those older guys and try to, follow after them. But definitely, I do think I bring something to the table, my size, my ability, what I can do. So, just trying to make plays for this offense. I have goals for the year. I want to come, I want to contribute for the team, and that's what I'm going to do.
What is it about the SEC that seems to really prepare players like yourself for this level, do you think?
I haven't played yet on this level, but, I think definitely we have the best competition. I think you go against the best week in and week out. So, they always say the SEC has the most drafted guys every year, so I think that has something to do with it.
With that, let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Jeff, we saw some video of Cedric Tillman, and he does look like a big-bodied wide receiver, and he should be able to carve himself out a role. I don't know if it'll be immediately, but there will be a role for him in this receiving room, I believe.
Well, first things first, and you bring up the size. He has the calling card of the room, 6'3", nobody else does. The other thing, and we've learned this from Kevin Stefanski over the years, is you want to play wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, you better show a propensity to block. Cedric Tillman, he'll mix it up. He will get involved. The thing that I truly like about this is the Browns can go 4 receiver sets where you can go big. You can go David Njoku. You can go Akins, bring them in as your tight ends. Keep Donovan on the field, bring on Cedric Tillman. You've got size. These are things that should work in the red zone. It should play well there. Or you want to switch it up, you can go Smurf. You can go Amari Cooper. You can go Elijah Moore. You can go Goodwin. You can go David Bell. But Tillman, and, to his credit, and I think he was, basically smart about it. You don't want to go out there as a rookie and say too much. Look, you go to the SEC. You play in the SEC for a reason. You're playing battle-tested people. You get in the NFL, and guess what? You get into your first couple of games and you say, oh, I played against him. Oh, I played against him. I played against him. And look, that conference produces the most players. We know this, and that's why you go there. I'm not a fan of the number 89 they gave him, but, some numbers will open up down the line. But Cedric Tillman comes in, and it gives the Browns a way to work this here. They have, obviously, Donovan Peoples-Jones going into his final season. Amari Cooper, everybody thinks it's 1 or 2 more years. So you have a present to that Cleveland Browns wide receiver room, but you certainly have a future to that room as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the number 89. Let's take a look. These are the numbers that have been assigned to the rookie draft picks that were made. So DTR gets Brian Sipes' old number. You see Mitchell, 29. Whippler, the center is 56. Ika, 62. Dwan Jones, 74. McGuire, number 91. And as you mentioned, Tillman, 89. 89 used to be a tight end number. Now the numbers are all over the board. But go out and make the number famous.
There was some magic in that number back in the day in the 80s with Bernie Kosar, 84, 89. But definitely part of your wide receiver room did some things. McNeil wore it obviously back in the day as well. He's probably not going to stick, so I would tell every fan, don't go out and buy a Cedric Tillman jersey just yet. That probably number is not going to stick. The funny thing, though, is, and I don't know if we're going to get to it, but you look at Dwan Jones, he looks like there should be 3 numbers. He was such a monster of a human being. He looks like 2 numbers just isn't doing it for him. But, there's a lot of propensity to change with these numbers. DTR, we'll see if he sticks with the 17. Everybody now, they've become so acclimated to single-digit numbers. Browns have a lot of locked up right now. I did think the interesting thing, one, is they still haven't done anything with 6. So, how long is it going to be before we'll take 6 out of rotation and put it back in? So somebody eventually is going to be the successor to the Baker Mayfield wearing of jersey number 6.
All right, last night schedule released. Here's a look at the 2023 schedule, and it's pretty tough at the beginning of it. You got the Bengals at home, Steelers in Pittsburgh on Monday night, Titans, and then the Ravens, the first 4. You get an early bye. in Week 5. So beginning of that schedule is tough. Kevin Stefanski today at Rookie Minicamp talked about how that schedule lines up.
I think it's great. I mean, as you guys know, you don't control the schedule. You really just, you're ready to play wherever they tell you to play. I think it's a unique thing to have the 3 division opponents in the first 4 weeks. I believe we're the only team that has that in the NFL, and I look at it as a great opportunity.
And, you know, Jeff, he's got to say that. You can't complain about the schedule. He has to say that. There is an opportunity. There is an opportunity to kind of put some distance between the division and yourself, and the opportunity to fall behind.
Well, that's where it gets tricky. I mean, this only goes one of 2 ways, because the Browns will have 5 of their 6 conference games done by their 10th game. They have 1 conference game left, and that's Week 18 against the Cincinnati Bengals. You get out, you run away and hide, you have a great advantage for yourself. It's going to be difficult for these teams to, chase up to you in the standings in the AFC North. If you do not hit the ground running, it does, create some issues here. But look, Cincinnati Week 1, everything about the Cleveland Browns right now is, what's your first goal? Your first goal is to try to win your division. Well, Cincinnati Bengals Week 1, you can get a chance to, make that mark right away. Pittsburgh, if, everybody thinks, Kenny Pickett's going to be a much more improved player in year 2, then playing him in, game 2 as opposed to game 15, game 16 certainly makes, a difference. The Browns will see him early. The Ravens, same thing, new offense being installed. We've seen and we know that this stuff just doesn't always hit the ground running. There is time for everything to mesh together. So again, maybe you would rather face Lamar Jackson a little early. The tricky part about this for me, though, is Steelers defense, physical. Titans defense, physical. Ravens defense, as we always know, physical. You get the bye week, and then you probably get the most physical defense in the entire NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. So, it's going to be important that the Browns hit the ground running. It's going to be important that they're healthy, but they will be battle tested early. And, that's certainly going to be crucial for this team. Cincinnati, look, we know we play well against that team. I think, I know in my heart that they're a better team currently than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're better than Tennessee. We don't even know a quarterback will be playing for Tennessee in those days. And the Ravens, we'll see, Lamar now, it's going to have to be about getting the best out of Lamar with his arm now, because now the long-term money is committed there. And the fear has always been is, great as he is with his legs, that thing kind of has a time clock to it. So he's going to have to play smarter now. He's going to have to do more from the pocket. You just can't be running around willy-nilly when you're guaranteed as much money as he is now.
Yeah, and again, all valid points. And, if you look at it, you got Joe Burrow, you were going to play him. You got Lamar Jackson. The other 2 quarterbacks, if they expect Kenny Pickett to play better, okay. But I'm not afraid of Kenny Pickett, and I'm certainly not afraid of whoever the Titans are going to line up at quarterback either, be it Tannehill or the rookie. Along those lines, take a look at what some of the Browns players react through social media to the schedule. Juan Thornhill, new one, Fear No Man, and Greg Newsome. Week 1, yeah, he's looking forward to it. That defensive back room with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome and Martin Emerson, more equipped than most to deal with the wide receivers that the Bengals are going to be running out there in Week 1.
Why do the Browns continue to heavily invest in the cornerback position? They continue to do so because the Kings of the North right now possess Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and just drafted 2 more wide receivers as well. You got to be ready to go. And you need defensive back play. Another reason that Juan Thornhill was, brought in. And it was funny because somebody reacted, oh, wow, the Browns schedule. We knew what the Browns schedule was. It was only a question when they were actually going to play these games. Yes, they're going to play some tough teams. The AFC alone is going to be an incredible conference. There's probably going to be a team or 2 with 10 wins that just might not be enough to get you into the dance this year in the AFC. It is deep.
The NFL team that they'll face this season based around that schedule. One good thing, starting in Week 11, the Browns will play 6 games in 7 weeks against teams that did not make the playoffs. That span includes Broncos, Rams, Bears, Texans, among others. One bad thing, Browns season could be over before it starts. That's because they play 3 divisional games in the first 4 weeks. They won't be able to afford a slow start. They're the only team that will play 3 divisional games in the first 4 weeks. And again, Jeff, you can't control the schedule. You can control how you play. That's the only thing you can control. You better be ready to go.
Well, and look, and we talk about it, though, of those first 4 games, 3 of them are home.
Right.
So it's not like you're on these, this wild, road trip and all this stuff around. You are expected, when you are a team that should be as talented as the Cleveland Browns are on paper, a team that has $230 million, committed to their quarterback, you expect to definitely be able to handle your business at home and most certainly handle most of your business on the road. That is, the expectation here now. If anybody else doesn't see that or believe it, then I don't know what to tell you. This team, yes, they don't have a large tradition of winning. They don't have a large history of winning, but that is truly the expectation. And it starts with a week 1 win against the Bengals. And they should feel if we can win week 1 at home against Cincinnati, there's no reason we can't win week 2 in Pittsburgh. There's no reason we should lose to a Tennessee Titan team right now. And the Ravens, we'll see the way it works out. The Ravens, you like, the fact that it's going to be Lamar, and you like what they did in that respect. But, yes, it's a new system, but this has been a team that has never been able to find a wide receiver room for him in the entire time he's been there. Everybody knows, Mark Andrews is a player, but, that's the first thing you're going to take away if Lamar is going to try and throw against you. You are expected. This is supposed to be a playoff team. This is the expected. This is what Andrew Berry built. This is certainly what Jimmy Haslam's paying for.
Yeah, I agree with you. Along those lines, from NFL.com, win total projections for every team in the NFL for the Browns. 9.3 is the projected win total. Make the playoffs plus 110. So that means you bet $100, you get $110 back. That's what the plus is. Win the division plus 360. Win the conference plus 1,800, and win the Super Bowl plus 3,500. I'm with you. I think they got to win 10. 10. I think 10 will get you in, because I think you're going to get a lot of the AFC teams that are beating up on each other as well. It's gonna be brutal in the AFC to make the playoffs.
Yeah, you cannot have like an Atlanta Falcon game like you had last year.
Right.
You cannot have that. You've got to basically, you've got to put down the passies, and you've got to fight your best fight against some of the, top teams are going to play. We'll see how it works. The Bears are going to be a tricky team, coming to, Cleveland, but Justin Fields, there's a lot of talent there. They're going to play a lot of similar quarterbacks here this year. Obviously, you're going to see Lamar. We know the running ability there. Richardson, obviously, with the Colts. Justin Fields certainly has a lot of juice in his legs with the Bears as well. So maybe that's something that does help the Browns, because they're going to play a lot of these games, and it's not going to be uncommon to them, to be dealing with, quarterbacks with the mobility that the Browns are going to be seeing this year. I'll take the plus 8.3. I'll say it. I think they should win the AFC North. You can come see me again after week 6, and I can say, well, that didn't go right. That didn't go right. Nobody saw that coming. But yeah, I think this team is built to win the AFC North. We literally, in my opinion, there is basically one question I have when I talk about this Browns roster currently.
What is it?
Who is the other starting defensive tackle?
Yeah, that's fair. Fair enough. Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll also take a look at some areas that the Browns might want to tweak as far as the roster goes. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, Steve Lannon. Just wondered if you thought the 3 out of the first 4 games being with the AFC North seems kind of crazy and rare, if that's a punishment again for the Browns and Deshaun Watson. Thank you very much.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Jeff, I don't know. I don't think The league didn't do the Browns any favors, and they're certainly not going to do the Browns any favors. But I don't know that it's the result of the Deshaun Watson contract that the schedule laid out the way it did.
Well, I mean, there's two ways to look at this. Obviously, there's two ways to look at anything. Do you look at something as half full, or do you look at it as half empty? For me, look, we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens in a new system. By game 10, you're done with the Baltimore Ravens. Kenny Pickett, had one blown coverage that beat the Browns last year. I don't think Rodney McLeod's going to make that error. I don't think Juan Thornhill's going to make that error. So those players, Lamar has to get ingratiated in a new offense with new personnel. Kenny Pickett has got to show that he's going to. Deshaun Watson had the same amount of touchdown passes last year as Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's got a ways to go, and this was a guy that came in as an older rookie. So if you want to say this is a sentence, that's fine, but it could be something that truly works out for the Browns. And then all of a sudden they're in a situation where you really can't catch us because we really can't lose any division games because the last one we got is Week 18, and guess what? The Week 18 game, Week 17, we play on Thursday night. So we've got 10 days to just shut down and say, what do we got to do in 10 days from now to take out the Cincinnati Bengals? It's all about the games you win. Whatever the schedule comes, that's fine. But it's all about winning the games that are in front of you when they are in front of you. The Browns could be in a dream scenario, even going into the bye week. They could go into the bye week at 3-1, which they could maybe have a 1, possibly 2-game lead already within the division. So it goes about being what you're supposed to be. On paper, this team looks like it's going to be pretty darn good. You've got to go out there and achieve it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm with you on Kenny Pickett, too. I thought he did just fine as a rookie.
Love the guy. Look, Kenny Pickett,
Yep.
He works. His personal quarterback coach is a friend of mine. He's from my area. All the great things in the world. But you still got to go out there and get it done.
Right.
There are no freebies in the NFL.
Yep. All right, biggest roster hole for every NFL team, according to ESPN. For the Browns, they say running back, and I can't argue. Chubb doesn't really have a partner in the Cleveland backfield. The backup is either Jerome Ford, who only played 14 snaps as a rookie, or third-year man Demetric Felton. It's going to be Jerome Ford. He's a bit of a running back receiver tweener, gadget player who hasn't done much in the NFL. You mentioned the defensive tackle. The running back, I love Nick Chubb. I think he's the best running back in the NFL, and I won't say I'll say I think he's the best running back in the NFL. Running backs get beat up in the NFL, and we're a big hit on Nick Chubb or a pulled hamstring from finding out just how good Jerome Ford is. And with this roster, that concerns me.
I do question whether or not that room is done. And look, there are some free agent running backs out there. One of the easiest positions to address on Labor Day weekend when the final cuts come in is the running back position as well. Obviously, you look at the Browns' offensive line. It is a very advantageous situation when the Browns do say, hey, we're interested maybe in bringing somebody in. But I think something that's getting a little lost here is Nick Chubb, if he's not on the field, most likely the Browns aren't running the football anyway. That's why you are.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, we talked about guys last year, the Anthony Schwartzes, the David Bells, the Michael Woods. They could compete for wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. No, the Browns wide receiver room is done. They know the 6 guys they are going to bat with. Those are the guys that are going to get all the reps in OTAs with Deshaun Watson. They're going to get all the reps in training camp with Deshaun Watson. Whatever he plays in training camp, those are going to be the guys he works with. So they want to get to more of throwing the football. You don't bring Deshaun Watson in here and pay him all that money just to hand it to Nick Chubb, obviously. The plan is to start throwing the football more. When we do want to run it, we'll run it with Nick Chubb. But yes, you do have to, in my opinion, have some sort of insurance. I like Jerome Ford. I think we all like Jerome Ford. But the problem is haven't seen it. If I haven't seen it, I can't say it's there, and I can't say it's going to be there, or take it as a fact. And the other thing is if something does in fact happen to Nick Chubb, it's going to take more than one person to replace him anyway.
Yeah, that is absolutely fair, and I would agree with you. All right. Mentioned rookie minicamp. You mentioned DeJuan Jones, very, very big, was working. You could see Bill Callahan is already going to work coaching him up. Now, Jones was asked, just about being asked continuously during the draft process about his love for football and how that was to handle that.
I definitely feel like I had to do that a lot in college to prove that I love football. You know what I mean? I got that question asked in almost every interview, you know, do I love football? And I told almost every team, you know what I mean, turn on the tape, and you can just see it on my film, you know what I mean? I play with the anger and aggression, it just comes from the heart, you just don't want nobody to touch the quarterback, and that's my main goal. It got annoying, but my agent prepared me for it. I worked with a couple of GMs. They told me they're going to ask you the same question. It don't matter where you go. They're going to ask you what's your passion and how much do you love football. I was just waiting for it every time. And that's when that tweet came out. It just kind of caught me off guard. I talked about it in almost every meeting that I love football. I basically get a shot off my back in football. And I just feel like it just didn't get across. And I feel like it finally got across when I tweeted.
Jeff, again, first-round talent. If they can get him right and unlock that, they got something. You're talking about a 6'8", 374-pound guy that wants to play with anger and aggression. I don't know about you, but I'm getting the heck out of his way.
Well, and the thing is, if you actually watch the tape, as he starts making his way upfield in running plays, there's a lot of guys that are doing a little mental check out. Oh, look at that, man. I think the ankle rolled. I accidentally did not get in his. Dude, what are you going to do when 6'8", 6'9", 370 pounds is stumbling onto you? It's over. And guess what? If he hits you hard enough, he's going to hit you into the guy behind you. So he's going to take out two. As far as the basketball thing, look, he was in it. What do you do in that situation? It's already out there. So if you say, oh, well, I never really said that. Guess what? Then it's like, oh, well, he lied. He dodged the question. Look at that. So it was a damned if he did, damned if he didn't type of scenario. So at that point, just run with it. But the other thing is, does anybody else look at, NFL players, social media? Because guess what? Everybody's tweeting about the NBA playoffs. Does that mean we question whether or not how much they love the sport that they play? We don't. Look, he was 6'9". I'm sure the first thing they said is there's the basketball court. It's not like you're 6'4", whereby maybe the time you're 17, it's time to start thinking about playing another sport. Because guess what? There's a million guys who are 6'4". At 6'9", you have a little bit more time. But then you get to Bill Callahan, and if you do your research, you do your history, and you sit down, and a guy like Bill Callahan says, "I can make you a 5-time All-Pro, son, if you want to commit." And it's the fact. It's just a straight up fact. He has the ability to help you get to that level. So you want to know what? You want to be able to see money that you would have never saw if you entertained the thought of playing basketball? That is in front of DeJuan Jones. It truly is. And he is starting to work on the left side. Look, we know what the floor is. He could be a really plus right tackle. But if he can be even anyway possibility, the left tackle, and, yes, the fifth-year option was picked up. But if it's a shaky year this year and DeJuan Jones seems to really be finding his way, you can find a way to move off that number if you want to and just say, hey, this worked out well for us. And guess what? Now a kid I drafted in the 3rd round who's not making a ton of money is now, my left tackle. So I went from maybe being slated to paying $14 million and change to I'm paying like $1 million and change. And I just saved $13 million. And I got a guy who I think is on a developmental track to be better.
So we mentioned the tough start to the Browns' schedule. The thing that you also need to realize, they get a little bit of additional practice time because of that Hall of Fame game. So the Browns' preseason schedule lays out like this. They get an additional week. They get to begin training camp a week earlier. So they play the Jets Hall of Fame game. That's Thursday the 3rd. They also get the extra preseason game. Week 1 is the Commanders. And then weeks 2 and 3, they're at the Eagles, at the Chiefs. So your dress rehearsal and your final one are against 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is it's set up so that you don't come out and not ready to go. Everything is set up for you to come out strong.
No, and of course, the Browns, the Eagles, obviously the history's there, between the front offices, several members of personnel back and forth working for both organizations. But you're going to go your last 2 games and you're going to play against 2 teams played in the Super Bowl last year. Granted, who knows how much it'll actually be. It could be a drive or 2, could be a couple drives. I don't even know when we say dress rehearsal anymore if that even means a half. Because if your guys go out, they look crisp, you run 10 offensive plays, it's all right, we're good. A, number 1, we don't want to show anymore. And number two, we already, basically jinxed. We don't want to jinx nothing. We went as far as we wanted to go with this anyway. But you're going to be seeing solid quality football teams, and that's what you hope for. The Jets one will be interesting because it'll be a whole bunch of guys that nobody knows really playing in that game. But it's a good opportunity. Look, the Browns are going to rely on some of these rookies. It's not like any of these rookies are coming into starting positions, but we know how it goes. Their opportunity, their number will get called. So it's really good that you get to groom some of these young players, and they're going to get, that extra fourth game. And it's not so much even just about getting out there, getting acclimated, but trying to build confidence. Guys go out there when your number's called. If you felt confident about what you did in the summer, then you're ready to go. It's when you get to we just picked him up a week ago off so-and-so's practice squad, but now he's pressed into duty, and that usually does not work out. But you get these guys acclimated. They get a bunch of reps under their belt. They feel good about themselves. You can then start to say, hey, look, if we got to, we can count on them.
Jeff Lloyd, Locked On Browns podcast, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
All the best, Dave. Guys, always appreciate you having me. Everybody have yourselves a fantastic weekend.
Appreciate it very much. Jeff Lloyd, make sure you check out Locked On Browns podcast. Always really good stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break. Lance Reisland will join us. We'll take video breakdown. We'll take a look at some of the new additions to the teams in the AFC North. Browns play them 3 of the first 4 weeks. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Maybe cliche, but there's no I in team. The only identity that matters is we. The collective effort to love thy neighbor is needed now more than ever. The responsibility behind pronouns such as I, me, and mine impact we, us, and ours. So understand that you make all the difference in the team. He, him, her, or she can't disturb our peace, since we control our destiny as student athletes. This is the power of pronouns.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Do you want to do the voicemail? Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns, getting ready to do a little bit of a video breakdown of the AFC North, the teams that the Browns will play. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. All right, so we are working on connecting with Lance Reisland to see if we can do our video breakdown of the AFC North. All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. I'm a little surprised and somewhat disappointed that the schedule makers gave the Browns 3 division games out of the first 4 weeks. In my opinion, I feel like the division games are way too important to start off right off the bat against division games. I think that a team should play 2, maybe 3 games before they open up divisional play. What do you think? Thanks. Hi, this is Rico. I'm a little surprised.
All right, Rico, as always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Yeah, I get your point. But again, there's an opportunity. We've talked about it. There's an opportunity to come out and really create some distance between yourself and the rest of the division. So not ideal, but with it becomes the opportunity to kind of create some separation in the North. All right, let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Lance, you looked at some of the additions that have been made. Let's begin with the Bengals. These divisional games, because you start with 3 of them in the first 4 weeks, are going to be really important. And the Bengals, they improved without question. Had a good draft, some free agents. Orlando Brown, take us through what you see with him, what you think the Bengals were thinking with Brown.
Well, I think he was the best pickup in all of free agency, to be honest with you. Last year, you see him here, really long arms. He can do things others can't. Just wrote an article on how DeJuan Jones can kind of learn from Orlando Brown and what he does with his size. He boots his split out. But what he does is that, according to PFF, Joe Burrow has a 96% grade passing from a clean pocket. Unfortunately, most of his career, he's been sacked 153 times. So he has not had a clean pocket very much. When he has a clean pocket, he's very, very good. So I think this is a huge pickup for them. It gives him that left side protection that he needs. It's an area that they needed. He's been on his back way too much, and they still had great success. So for me, this is the best pickup in the AFC North, best regardless of draft, free agency. This pickup right here is really, really big for Joe Burrow because now he's going to have protection, and the numbers tell you when he has protection, he's pretty good.
Yeah, and you could see them trying to find a way to match him up against Myles Garrett or Okunrankwo to give him a little bit of step. Now, in the draft, they went out and got a pretty good, outside linebacker, edge rusher in Myles Murphy. What do you see from Murphy?
The thing you like about a Murphy is that you see right here, he's really, really good with speed to power. And going on to how it's going to affect the Browns, well, everybody improved that. What they didn't do very well, the Bengals only had 30 sacks last year, and they improved not only what they don't do well, like I said, but what other teams attack. And them not having very much pressure, he is very, very good at speed, power, or power speed. And Jet Wills, right now, he's really good if you just get a speed rusher, and he's very, very good if you just get a power rusher. What is giving him trouble are the Myles Garretts. There's not too many of them, but those guys that can go from raw power or raw speed and then in an instance change to the other. And Myles Murphy's a guy who can do that. He's 6'5", he's 275, he's position flexible, he can get down and play on the guards. He can improve what they really, really struggle with is pass protection. So, for the Bengals, being as successful as they are, they have not been able to protect the passer and they've not been able to get to the passer. They've addressed both of these needs in the draft and through free agency. So really, really good pickup by them and how it's going to affect the Browns. They're going to, it's almost like they kind of, what the Browns have hurt them with, they're going to fix.
Well, and also in the draft, another area that the Bengals have kind of went out and addressed, running back. They chose Chase Brown. What do you see from Brown?
Well, I really like Brown. So they lost Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine was a glue guy for them. Mixon makes a lot of plays. Samaje Perine was the third down back. He's a very good protector. He can play out in the slot. He's very good on swing passes. He's a very good check down for Joe. He was a very good check down guy for Joe Burrow. This is what Chase Brown. Here you're going to see Illinois is going to run a counter trade. The Bengals are kind of going to that counter look more than they're going to their zone. He's very good. He's a hard runner. Last year he had 329 carries for 1,632 yards. Very, very productive, had 27 receptions. One of the things I like to say, he's not afraid to put his face in the fan. So he's not afraid to step up and block a backer, block a lineman, block a corner. He will step up and put his face right there in the fan. I think he's an incredible pickup for Joe Burrow for what they want to do. He's not a carry the ball 25, 30 times, but he's a guy who can catch the ball, he can pass protect. He's great on swing routes. He's very reliable. He's a little bit older, so he's a little bit more mature. Again, I think this is a great pickup by the Bengals. It's something that the Browns are going to have to watch for in terms of he's a check down guy. Now Burrow has a guy in the flats who can check it down to, and he can make big plays.
So the Bengals, those 3 pickups, kind of the chief ones. There are others, but that's week 1. Week 2, Monday night against the Steelers. And I know you liked what the Steelers did in the offseason. Let's start on that offensive line. It wasn't great a season ago. They draft Broderick Jones, and then they also sign a free agent, Isaac Seumalo.
you're going to see Jones here. He's out on pin and pull. Then you're going to see him at the left tight end here. And goal line set, he's going to block down on that inside leverage. And then you're going to say Amalu for when he was with the Eagles. He's very, very aggressive. And what the Steelers have done, they found guys that kind of fit Mike Tomlin's persona on both sides of the ball. So if you look at their first picks, you got Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., Keanu Bennett, Darnell Washington, and Nick Herbert. All guys who, in my opinion, they fit that Steeler mode. This guy, Broderick Jones, is a guy who can block in space. He's a guy who's a mauler. So him and Sadie Malu are guys who are going to improve that run game with Najee Harris. The reason that affects the Browns, because the Browns went out and signed Tomlinson. They've drafted Ika. This has been a concern for the Browns, the ability to stop a power run game. The Steelers are getting back to their identity with these two, the free agent pick and then Jones. So they're going to test the Browns in the run game. They're going to see if the Browns have gotten better in the run game with these guys and Najee Harris. So it should be very interesting.
Yeah, and so also in the draft, on the defensive side of the ball, they drafted a couple of guys that we kept talking about with the Browns. Keanu Benton, defensive tackle, and a guy that was we kept talking about and looking at from Wisconsin.
So for me, this was my favorite defensive tackle in terms of point of attack. He's a guy who is an anchor in there. I don't think, even though he has made some sacks in college, I don't think he's going to be a splash guy in the NFL. I think he's going to be a guy who's very reliable. He's going to be a guy, here you see him line up in the center. He's going to drive that center back. He lines up in 2-eye. The center tries to block back, and he just pushes the center straight back. Last year, the Browns, for example, the Browns had 60 carries for 305 yards, most of that Nick Chubb in the two games they played. Keanu Benton has been brought in to kind of help with that. Obviously they wanted to improve their run game. Now they've added a guy who can stop the run a little bit more, something they need to do against the Browns in terms of how the Browns have had great success. The Browns have averaged over 5 yards per rush the last couple games on them. So again, a guy who fits a need, a guy who, for the Browns are they're answering what the Browns do well in the drafting for free agency.
Another guy, also from the Big Ten that we talked a lot about for the Browns, Nick Herbig, another guy that the Steelers went out and got.
So this is a Watt clone, right? This is the guy in that odd front coming off the edge who's going to be fantastic for these guys. You and I have talked about it in the past. Here he is with an arm over move coming off the edge. He's a little bit undersized. He's kind of a tweener, which kind of allowed him to slide down a little bit. I think he's an amazing talent. I think he can play the linebacker. He's a matchup guy. I thought he'd been great in the Browns fit. Steelers, he's even better. And more importantly, he fits that need. So, again, a guy who is a tough guy who plays with an incredible motor. He's very much like those edge rushers, the Harrisons, the Watts, those guys that the Steelers have had in the past. This guy fits that mold. He's absolutely relentless. I think he's going to be outstanding for the Steelers. He's so good off the edge. Even right now, he can just be a situational nickel guy and come in pass rush. But again, a guy who the Browns are going to throw the ball more, and now they got a guy who can rush the passer. So again, this AFC North is really, they filled their needs, and they're getting people who can help them win.
Yeah, and when we look at the third team in the North, the Baltimore Ravens, they re-sign Lamar Jackson, and then what do? They go out and they give him some weapons. And the first one, their first-round pick, Zay Flowers, and this guy's quick.
Well, this guy might be the best overall slot guy. When you think about a slot guy, by definition, saying he's a twitchy guy who can run some routes. So here you can see him, he runs just a little whip route. He's going to drive in, then he's going to drive back out. Really, really classic route, really a classic route in the NFL. Whip, hide routes, option routes, things he does very well. So the Ravens, early on in free agency, everybody was down on the Ravens because all they had was Nelson Aguilar, who I think is going to be a fantastic third receiver for the Ravens. Their best pickup might have been not a football player. It might have been Todd Monken, their offensive coordinator, who is kind of like Schwartz on the offensive side of the ball, where he's a matchup guy. He's a guy who's going to find matchups. And when I think of Zay Flowers and I think of Lamar Jackson, you think of these plays not only on script, but off script. So their ability to make plays when the play breaks down. Both of these guys are incredible at it. Zay Flowers has incredible short area burst. He's about, like I said, about the biggest definition of a slot you can get. He's going to be really, really, really exciting for Lamar Jackson.
Then they also go out and they get Andrew Voorhees as well, and take us through what you like about him.
So here's another guy that kind of matches. So the Ravens over the last couple of years, especially with Lamar Jackson, they have a very unique run style offense. So it's very run pass oriented, a lot of run options, a lot of decisions that need to be made by Lamar Jackson in both the pass and the run game. But one thing is for certain, they like these massive offensive linemen who can block down and kick out and drive block. So this is just a simple, he's at the left guard, you're going to see him drive 72, drive this guy into the ground. This is kind of the MO, this is kind of the model of the kind of offensive lineman they like. Like I said, they run a very unique offense. Todd Monken is going to play off what they've done in the past, and he's going to make it even better in terms of getting guys in space, getting guys touches. And this guy, as an offensive lineman, picked in the later rounds, get a lot of value from this guy. They picked up OBJ at Nelson Aguilar, like I said. So they went from a team not having Lamar Jackson, everybody's saying, are they starting over, to a team now that makes this AFC just loaded from top to bottom. So once again, this guy is a guy who fits their mold. He's a hardball type of guy. He's tough, he's big. I really like this pickup. Again, he fits their mold.
Lance Reisland, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Really good stuff. That AFC North, important. Remember, 3 of the first 4 games the Browns are going to play against the guys we just took a look at. So appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
All right, Lance Reisland, really good stuff. Make sure you check him out, cleveland.com, as well as The Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We continue talking Browns. Randy Gurzi from Dog Pound Daily straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
The one thing that I'm noticing around Bengals fans since our schedule was released, they're kind of overlooking us. And, I just can't wait to go out and prove to everybody in the world that the Browns are different and that this team is different. And the key that's going to make that happen is we have to go 1-0 each week. Like, if we win a game, we have to forget about it. If we lose a game, we have to forget about it because there's new challenges and teams are going to test you in different ways, and you can't get caught up looking forward or looking ahead of the game. I think that Kevin Stefanski has to really harp on that because we've done that, and that's when we fall short. So I'm excited to be tested this early. So, yeah, go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Randy Gurzi from Dog Pound Daily. Randy, I don't want to say they're on a different level, but the Bengals been to the conference championship game the last 2 years, to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I get why their fan base may be overlooking that opener, but great. That gives the Browns a chance.
Yeah. It does. And, one thing I notice with Browns fans, they do get a little bit frustrated feeling like they're being overlooked, that teams don't take them seriously. And unfortunately, there's a reason for that. Since 1999, they've kind of been historically bad. So these teams do kind of overlook them sometimes. And, the only way to fix that is by making them respect you. Teams aren't going to respect us because we ask them to. We have to actually go out there and prove that they deserve it.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the year they made the playoffs and beat the Steelers in the first round, the following year there was some respect. The last 2 years, they haven't gotten it done. They have underachieved relative to, I think, the way the roster was.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to the fans obviously aren't controlling what the team's doing, but you saw the fans really kind of after that playoff run acting like, well, we've arrived, and we're better than the Steelers now, and we're ready to start competing with all these great teams, and they weren't. It takes a lot to learn how to win, and I think that the voicemail he hit the nail on the head where he was talking about you have to forget about each game after it's done. You can learn from it, but you got to put it behind you. And I think we saw last year when they had a couple of losses. You had that loss to the Jets, the loss to the Falcons early. It really compounded. They didn't put it behind them and take that next step. They really let it beat them up and let it eat away at them. So hopefully Stefanski can get them to put that kind of stuff behind them this year.
Yep, I'm with you. Along those lines, this is from Yahoo Sports, 2023 record predictions for the Browns. They say 7-10. Browns will have their quarterback for an entire year at a salary an NFL starting quarterback should earn, just not this one. They aren't as good as the three other teams in their division. That means flirting with 500 once again. I disagree with the rationale. But they've been under 500 the last 2 years. Again, I've lived through it. I've covered them. They've been under 500 9 times in the last decade. So I get why there's that's why there's some skepticism. I think they win 10, maybe 11 games. But when national publications question it, I can't argue with their rationale.
It is hard to argue against it. I don't agree with the Deshaun Watson slander as far as his play goes. If you don't like Deshaun Watson for off field, I 100% agree with that. I understand where you're coming from. But the last time he played a full season, the guy was phenomenal. Last year, I think, was just all about knocking the rust off. The offense was built around Jacoby Brissett, and I think people underestimate just how hard it is to switch, quarterbacks in the middle of the season when they have such different styles like that, which is why they went out and they drafted Dorian Thompson-Robinson so that you have similar backups to Deshaun Watson. But yeah, I think last year was just all about knocking the rust off. But the last time we saw him play an entire season, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. People talked about him like he was right up there with Patrick Mahomes. So I think that they're letting personal opinions kind of cloud him there. With that being said, he still does have to go out there and prove it. The Browns still have to go out there and prove it. But I don't think that they have the quarterback wrong. And I also don't agree that the worst team in the division. I think, you can make an argument for the Ravens and the Bengals being better probably, but I just don't look at the Steelers and think that they're better than the Browns right now. Their roster isn't anyway.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all, and I would agree with you. All right, ESPN, bold predictions from every team's schedule. Till last season's last-second come-from-behind win over Carolina, the Browns hadn't won a season opener since 2004. Cleveland largely had Cincinnati's number, especially at home, ever since Joe Burrow took over at quarterback. The Browns will win back-to-back season openers for the first time since 1993 and 94. Let that sink in a little bit. If they can come out and win the first game, that sets the tone.
Yeah, and I think that the Browns versus Joe Burrow thing has been overplayed just a little bit. Yes, he's 1 of 4 against them, but 2 of those happened in that rookie season when that whole team was just a mess. So I think that they've done well against Burrow. I'm not ready to sit here and tout and say they absolutely got his number because he still is a really, really good quarterback, one of the best in the NFL. So I don't want to get overconfident in that. But we also noticed last year the Bengals didn't start out very hot. They took a little while to get going. So I can see week 1 being a win for the Browns. I predicted that the Bengals would win that game, when I did my schedule prediction article. But, I kind of wasn't 100% confident in that. I think that the Bengals start out slow, and that could play into the Browns' favor in Week 1.
I would agree with you. All right. You also wrote an article about 3 potential trap games. So you got week number 9, Browns hosting the Cardinals. Week number 7, traveling to Indianapolis to play the Colts. And week 16, Texans coming to Cleveland to play the Browns. Take us through your thoughts on those. Those are all eminently winnable games. Likely to be a couple of rookie quarterbacks, and who knows when Kyler Murray is healthy enough to go.
Yeah, not only the issues with Kyler Murray, but the Cardinals roster as a whole. I mean, they're one of the 4 teams that didn't get a primetime game because their roster is just it's not very good right now. But if you look at each one of those games, they're kind of sandwiched in between tough contests. But with the Colts, you've got the 49ers and the Seahawks, 2 playoff teams on either side of it. Same with the Cardinals. You have the Seahawks in Week 8, and then the Ravens in Week 10. And then the Texans, you've got the Jets game on. You're playing the Texans on Christmas Eve, and then on Thursday the following week you're playing the New York Jets, who team that they've kind of struggled with lately, and now has Aaron Rodgers. So you've got these very good, very pivotal games that are either coming after, or maybe even before and after each one of those contests. So I think those are typically the kind of games that we've seen the Browns look past in recent years, and it could come back to bite them if they don't take it seriously.
Yeah, I get it. I understand the thought process without question. Randy Gurzi from Dog Pound Daily and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Randy Gurzi from Dog Pound Daily. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
How you doing? Tony Frost. Deshaun Watson in 2020, a lot of analysts said he was in the top 5. No, he was in the top 3 of every category. And I just said that to say this. He's going to be back to his old self this year. And, I'm glad that everybody is underestimating the Browns, because we are coming to destroy everybody. Week 1, we got the Bengals. Week 2, we got the Squealers. Then we got Tennessee. And people was actually telling me that we're going to be 0-3. No, we're not. We are going to be 3-0. Man, we're loaded. And we got the number 1 offensive line in the league. And I didn't even mention the defense. I get upset when people underestimate us, but at the same time, it's a blessing that we're underestimated. Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Randy, Watson's the key. If he gets back to where he's, one of the top, if he's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, this team's going to have a really, really good year.
Yeah, and, I get hear people kind of talking like he did in that voicemail. It sounds very similar to what we heard in 2021 and 2022, or just people going on and on about how the Browns deserve respect and they have this loaded roster. And I kept exercising caution last year, saying, they're good, but they're not great. They're not going to go and just dominate. This year again, yeah, their roster's good. Their roster, it's competitive with a lot of other teams, but it all goes back to Deshaun Watson, and that's why they paid not only $230 million fully guaranteed, but gave up 3 first-round draft picks, because you could have as talented of a roster, you could have a good defense, you could have a great offensive line, you could have a dominant running game, but if you don't have that quarterback that teams respect and fear, then you're not going to do anything.
All right, before I let you go, I know you wrote an article about Elijah Moore. Take me through that, what your thoughts are. How good can Elijah Moore be?
Elijah Moore was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft a couple of years ago. He's got the 4.3 speed. People kind of mistakenly label him a slot receiver, but he's much more than that. He can play in the slot, but he's actually a little bit better on the boundary. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper can also kind of play the slot. So I think having him out there gives them a third wide receiver that they can shift around, they can move all over the place, and that he can stretch the defense. He can beat defenses at all three levels of the field. And you had those two guys that have a little bit of height on them. They can win the contested pass, or Donovan Peoples-Jones can win the contested passes. You have Amari Cooper who can just break people's ankles with his insane route running. And now you just throw a third guy out there that can kind of just stretch the defense with his speed, what they were hoping Anthony Schwartz could do. So I feel like he's that missing piece to this offense, and I really feel like Kevin Stefanski is going to be able to unleash his talent.
Yeah, I agree with you. I liked him coming out of Ole Miss, and I think he's going to be a weapon, and I think he and Deshaun Watson, I think that's something that could be a lot of fun this fall. Randy Gurzi, Dog Pound Daily, as always. So thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much, Randy.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Randy Gurzi, make sure to check him out. Dog Pound Daily, always really insightful and well thought out stuff. Each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize a role model student from somewhere across the state of Ohio. Today, we head to Aurora High School to meet McKenna Metzger. Metzger, not only one of the best young softball players in the area and in the state, also getting it done in the classroom above a 4-point grade point average. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is proud to salute Aurora High School's McKenna Metzger, this week's Shining Star. Aurora junior McKenna Metzger is an imposing figure for the Greenmen on the softball field. In the circles, she's been dominant, a strikeout machine. At the plate, she's been a force, a power hitter hitting almost 600. Metzger is just playing with a ton of confidence.
It's so huge in the sport of softball because it's like based around failure, and I think that's something I've also been like really focused on because sometimes I do like overthink things and I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I think I'm trying to like move past that, and if you have a bad game, it's a bad game. You have to just move on, and I think that also like led me to just like go up to the plate and stay calm and just do my best. McKenna's best has been awfully good by any standards. She threw a perfect game earlier this year against Copley, recording 11 strikeouts in a 10-0 6-inning win. I never really knew like what the rules of a perfect game was, but I remember coming in the 4th inning, I was like, I don't think anyone's gotten on base, and I went to my teammate Layla and I was like, I have to tell you something, and then I was like, no, I can't tell you. I was like, I don't want to jinx it, so I didn't tell her, and she was so mad at me. But then at the end of the game, you're like, you threw a perfect game, and I was like, that's what I was going to tell you. So it was kind of funny because like we don't talk about it anymore in the dugout because we don't want to jinx it. The success is no surprise. Metzger works hard year-round to maximize her talents, and that work is paying off in all facets of the game. Power. I think I'm obviously pretty tall, so I try to get in the weight room as much as I did like this preseason, and I think honestly I've just been hitting the ball harder than I ever have, and that's been resulting to like home runs and doubles and even just singles that get to the infield. Even though Metzger has another year of high school remaining, she was being recruited by a number of Division I programs, and she committed early to continue her education in softball at Kent State University. The programs of the softball team, it's just great. Like I've already met a lot of the players and I just love them like all. And the coaches have like given me such a huge opportunity to go out there and play. And also just like the school itself, like they say like you feel it when you feel it, and like you definitely do. Because I got to go to a lot of schools, which I was lucky to do, but it just definitely felt like home. As good as Metzger is on the field, she may be even better in the classroom. McKenna carries a 4.2 GPA in accelerated classes. It's just as important to me as my sports are. I try and work as hard in the classroom as I can because obviously that has helped me get the scholarship that I did at Kent State. And again, like I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like also hard on myself in the classroom just as hard as I am on the field. And I think I've just like have that motivation in me. And McKenna has a pretty good idea of what she wants to study in college. I've always been a math and science girl. But also like ASL, I just started and I actually really enjoy it. For a while, I was thinking sports medicine. I wasn't sure like what I wanted to do with it, but also recently I've been thinking about like speech pathology because I am in ASL class here in the school and I just really love it. So I think if I like majored in speech pathology and minored in ASL, that would be really cool. It's safe to assume that McKenna Metzger will attack her studies with the same intensity that's made her one of the area's best softball players.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. Well done, McKenna Metzger. The Greenmen were Suburban League champs. They are the 3rd seed in their Division II district. They're getting playoffs underway next week. So good luck to the Greenmen. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.